Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Walker. Our topic today is how to use a multiplication table. And by multiplication table, sometimes it's referred to as a multiplication chart, but we'll call it a multiplication table today. By the end of this video, hopefully you will be able to solve problems like the ones that you see here on this page using a multiplication table. And the objective is that as you use a multiplication table, you will gradually begin to memorize your facts. 8 times 7, our first factor of 8, and we would just count down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8 times 7 is 56. 6 times 4, 6, and we're going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, you can see when we're here, if I kind of carry it across, you can see that 6 times 4 is equal to 24. 9 times 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is 72. It could also be written this way, 12 times 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 12 times 6 is 72. And 3 times 3. 1, 2, 3 is 9. You could also start here on the left and say 3 times 1, 2, 3. Just a matter of your personal preference is 9. Math always has vocabulary terms that go with it. For multiplication, we have factors and product. The numbers that you multiply, they are called factors. And the answer to a multiplication problem is called the product. Same thing here, going up and down. The 5 and the 2 are factors. And 5 times 2 equals 10. The 10 would be the product. Remember that the key idea in multiplication is that you have equal groups. For example, these dots here could model a multiplication problem. What I'm seeing here, and you could look at it another way, but I'm seeing 3 groups. Each group has 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So 3 times 2, and it's going to be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You could also count by 2s, 2, 4, 6. But again, it's equal. So this would be an example of multiplication. Why? Because we're using equal groups. Now let me show you something to avoid. Occasionally some of my students will get turned around in multiplication and they'll do something that's this. Notice it's the same amount of dots, right? And they'll say, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 2, and that equals 6. Well, what's wrong here? First of all, it's going to be wrong because 4 times 2 is actually 8, not 6. But our groups are not what? They're not equal. So in this case, excuse me, I should have crossed this one out, and this would be incorrect. Now, you could solve this by adding. You could just say 4 plus 2 is equal to 6, and this would be okay. But for multiplication, remember that your groups must be equal. There's different ways to show equal groups. One way is arrays. Arrays just have rows, and rows go from left to right on your screen. Columns go up and down, and remember they must be equal. So here's an example of a multiplication array. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm seeing 1, 2, 3 in each of these groups. So in other words, 4 times 3. And if you count these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 times 3 is equal to 12. You could also group them in another way. For purposes of this video, I'm not going to do that today. You could also just put them in groups. Notice that this is not an array, but what I have here is two groups, which are the blue circles, one group, two groups, of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 each. This also has 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would equal a total of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Also, if you count by fives, 5, 10, right? Let's just show that up here. So again, this would be just showing multiplication in groups. And again, the concept is equal. And you could also show it in a number line. What I have here, if you look here from the 0, our first hop is 1, 2, 3. Our second hop is also 1, 2, 3. And our third hop is 1, 2, 3. In other words, we have 3 hops, 1 hop, 2 hop, 3, of 3 each. And you can see that we arrive at a product of 9. Let's solve some problems using our multiplication table. This top, I'm going to go real quickly. Notice again is multiplication. And the idea here is that this column in yellow would represent one of your factors, and that this column here to the left side in yellow also represents your other factor. So in other words, you are multiplying, you have your factor times your factor. Different ways that you can use multiplication tables are really handy, but let's just do a couple of problems. 4 times 5. So our first factor is 4. I'm going to find the 4. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 times 5 is 20. You would read this as 7 times 3 equals. I'm going to find my first factor of 7. 1, 2, 3. So 7 times 3 is equal to 21. 6 times 8. My first factor is 6. And I'm going to count down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 48. So in other words, 6 times 8 equals 48. You could also use your multiplication table reading from left to right. I'll show that for this problem. 11 times 7. So instead of finding 11 here, if some people would prefer to start to the left, either way is fine, and count 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And finally, 12 times, it's a little bit rough there, 11. Why don't we go from left to right again on this one? Here's 12 times 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Again, you can see your 11 up there is 132. All right, so that is how you can use a multiplication table to solve multiplication problems. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.